The Dysfunction Files, Episode 25, Threads in the Field. Nothing in your life is random. We've all had it happen. You're driving down the road and someone pops into your head, out of nowhere. A friend you haven't spoken to in years. Seconds later, your phone lights up. It's them. Or maybe you dream about a place you've never been. The streets, the sounds, even the smell of the air feels real. And then, months later, you find yourself standing there, goosebumps rising on your arms as the scene unfolds exactly as it did in your dream. And speaking of dreams, have you ever gone to bed at night wrestling with a problem you just can't solve, only to wake up in the morning with the answer clear as day? I know I have. We shrug these moments off. We call them coincidence, random chance, the brain playing tricks. But what if they're not? What if these eerie synchronicities are cracks in the facade, clues that reality is more connected than we've been led to believe? What if beneath the surface there's a field of consciousness threading all of us together, our thoughts, our bodies, our biology? Because here's the truth. Your thoughts aren't just private. They ripple outward. They change your heart rhythms. They alter your hormones. They nudge your immune system. And that means this: healing isn't just about medications or supplements or even diet. Healing begins with coherence. When your thoughts, your heart, and your body align. Today, we're diving into eerie synchronicities, the Global Consciousness Project, and the stories that blur the line between science and mystery. But more than that, we're going to explore what quantum biology reveals about you, because your thoughts are not random, and they are not powerless. They are threads in the field that shapes your reality. And when you learn to harness that, your body has the power to heal itself. I'm Dr. Kristen Lindgren, and welcome back to the Dysfunction Files, the show where we dig into the hidden truths, the science, and the stories that challenge everything you thought you knew about health and healing. Today, we're pulling on the invisible threads, the ones that connect thought to biology, mind to body, and consciousness to the world around us. Let's get into it. The 9/11 Random Number Generator. September 11th, 2001. The world hadn't changed, at least not yet. The sky over New York was crystal clear, a brilliant blue stretching over a vibrant city just waking up. Millions of people poured into subways, grabbed coffees, checked emails, a day that seemed so ordinary, so routine. And yet, something strange was already stirring. At Princeton University, a small group of researchers were quietly running an experiment most people had never heard of: the Global Consciousness Project. The premise was simple, but eerie. They had scattered small devices called random number generators, or RNGs, at locations all over the globe. Each machine sat silently, humming away, doing the same mindless task day after day, spitting out pure chaos, a meaningless stream of ones and zeros, like a digital coin flip, heads, tails, forever and ever. Day after day, year after year, they behaved as expected. Utter randomness, no patterns, no order. Well, until that morning. That morning of September 11th, 2001. In the hours before the first plane hit the North Tower, the machines began to change. Subtly at first. Instead of producing their usual chaotic static, the numbers began to bend. They started to cluster, to cohere. Machines across the globe, completely isolated from one another, suddenly seemed to be generating the same kinds of numbers, patterns where none should exist. It was as if the background noise of the universe had shifted pitch. The odds of this happening by chance? Astronomical. By the time the first plane struck, the data was undeniable. Across the planet, machines built to be random were collapsing into order. It was as if millions of people, sensing the coming horror, imprinted their fear and grief onto the field of reality itself. Machines with no eyes, no ears, no awareness, somehow picking up the collective heartbeat of humanity. How do we explain this? Coincidence? The researchers didn't think so. To them, this was evidence of a radical truth. Consciousness isn't locked inside your head. It spills out. It interacts. It leaves fingerprints in the very fabric of reality. And here's why this matters for you. Because if the collective grief of humanity can ripple through the field strongly enough to bend machines, what do you think your everyday thoughts are doing inside your own body? In functional medicine, we see it every day. Stress and trauma don't just sit in your mind. They leave tracks in your biology. High cortisol, elevated blood pressure, blood sugar spikes, inflammation, insomnia. But here's the hopeful part. Shift your state of consciousness. Move from fear into coherence, from chaos into calm, and biology follows. Genes flip on or off. Inflammation lowers. Immune function improves. Healing accelerates. The Global Consciousness Project may have started as a quirky scientific curiosity, but for us, it's a roadmap. Proof that what you think and feel isn't just internal, it's biological, measurable, and world shaping. The Washington D.C. Meditation Experiment. Fast forward to 1993. Washington, D.C. was a city at war with itself. Violent crime had exploded. Murders, assaults, robberies. The headlines read like daily war reports. Entire neighborhoods lived in fear. Parents kept their kids indoors. Sirens wailed all night long. The capital of the United States was drowning in chaos. The police were stretched thin. The courts were overwhelmed. Politicians were desperate. Citizens had lost hope. And then came a proposal, so absurd it bordered on comedy. A group of researchers and meditators claimed they could lower crime, not with more police, not with more laws, not with curfews or crackdowns, but by sitting quietly, by meditating. Their prediction? If enough people gathered, violent crime in Washington, D.C. would drop by 20%. The police chief laughed. He sneered, "Crime will drop when it snows in July." In other words, never. But the group persisted. And in June of 1993, they put their plan into motion. Nearly 4,000 people traveled to the capital from around the world. They came in all forms: monks in robes, scientists with clipboards, ordinary men and women with nothing more than quiet intention. They packed into hotels, conference centers, even living rooms across the city. And every day, for weeks, they gathered. Thousands of bodies, still and silent, eyes closed, breathing slowly, hearts beating in rhythm. Their focus wasn't on themselves. It was on the city outside their doors. And then something happened. The summer heat pressed down. July came, and as predicted, it didn't snow. But the crime numbers began to shift. Slowly at first, then dramatically. Assaults dipped. Murders declined. By the end of the experiment, violent crime in Washington, D.C. had dropped not by 20%, but by 23%, exactly as predicted. The skeptics went quiet. The police chief who had mocked the idea had no explanation. The only thing that had changed wasn't more cops, harsher laws, or government crackdowns. The only thing that had changed was consciousness. What happened in Washington wasn't magic. It was coherence. When a person meditates, their heart rhythms synchronize. Their brain waves align. Their nervous system shifts from fight or flight into rest and repair. Biology literally reorganizes into order. And when thousands of people do this together, that order doesn't stay inside their bodies, it ripples outward. In functional medicine, we call this coherence practices, meditation, gratitude, journaling, breathwork, prayer, laughter. And let me be clear, these aren't soft, optional add ons. They lower cortisol, they balance hormones, they improve heart rate variability, one of the best predictors of resilience and longevity. They switch off inflammation, they change gene expression. So here's the takeaway. If thousands of strangers meditating together could lower crime in an entire city, what do you think one person, you, could shift in your own body with a daily coherence practice? The double slit experiment, proof that observation changes reality. Now, if this all sounds too strange, let me tell you, it's all backed by science. Let me remind you of one of the most famous experiments in physics, the double slit experiment. Here's the short version. Scientists fired tiny particles, photons, electrons, at a barrier with two slits in it. If no one looked, the particles behaved like waves, creating an interference pattern on the screen behind the slits. But when scientists set up detectors to measure which slit the particles went through, the pattern changed. The particles behaved like solid objects, bullets instead of waves. In other words, the mere act of observing collapsed the wave of possibilities into a single reality. Consciousness changed the outcome. Our biology works the same way. The observer is not separate from the observed. Your thoughts, your focus, your attention aren't passive. They change your physiology. They influence what genes turn on, what hormones rise or fall, how your body heals. This isn't just physics. It's the mind-body connection, written into the quantum fabric of the universe. The Laura Buxton balloon. It started as an ordinary family celebration, a golden wedding anniversary, 50 years of marriage, children running through the yard, grown-ups clinking glasses, laughter spilling out of the house. Among the guests was a 10-year-old girl named Laura Buxton. She was handed a single red helium balloon bobbing in the summer air, the kind of simple gift that delights a child. But instead of just letting it go, Laura had an idea. She pulled out a small card, carefully wrote her name and address on it, and tied it to the balloon string. A little experiment, she thought. Let's see where this balloon ends up. She opened her hand, and the balloon floated upward, higher and higher, until it disappeared into the sky. That should have been the end. A balloon lost to the wind, a child's whim forgotten by dessert. But this balloon had other plans. It drifted across the English countryside, over hedgerows, rivers, towns, more than 140 miles from that anniversary party, until it came down in the yard of another little girl. That little girl picked it up, read the card, and froze, because her name was also Laura Buxton. Already, that's enough to make your skin prickle, but when the two Lauras met in person, the coincidences multiplied like a script written by something unseen. Both girls were 10 years old. Both girls were tall for their age. Both girls had straight brown hair cut to the same length. And on the day they met, they were wearing nearly identical outfits, pink sweatshirts and jeans. And the coincidences didn't stop there. At home, each Laura owned the same pets, a guinea pig, a rabbit, and a 3-year-old black Labrador. Not one overlap, not two, but dozens, layers upon layers of impossible parallels. A red balloon, released during a family celebration, didn't just drift into another yard. It found another Laura Buxton. It found her mirror. What are the odds? a balloon traveling 140 miles through the open air, landing not just in the hands of another girl, but the hands of another girl with the same name, the same age, the same look, the same clothes, the same pets. It's not just unlikely, it's statistically impossible. And yet, it happened. That's not coincidence. That's coherence. Stories like this tug at something deep in us. Because if two Lauras can be connected by a drifting balloon, maybe life isn't random at all. Maybe it's stitched together by threads we can't always see. And here's the bridge to your health. Your thoughts are balloons too. Every intention you release drifts out into the field. Some float away unnoticed, but others, the ones carried with coherence, gratitude, and love, find their way back. They land in your biology. They change your hormones. They shape your immune system. They shift your capacity to heal. Epigenetics shows us this truth. Our beliefs and states of mind literally switch genes on and off. Stress thoughts raise inflammation. Healing thoughts calm the immune system. Gratitude improves heart rhythm coherence. So, if two Lauras could find each other across the English countryside, maybe your body can find healing across the chaos of your daily life if you release the right balloons. Closing. There are no coincidences, not in the machines that bent before 9/11, not in the crime rates of Washington, D.C., not in the red balloon that found its way to another Laura Buxton, not in your health. Every thought you have is a signal into the field. Every intention you set is a nudge towards coherence or chaos. You are not just a bystander in your biology. You are a participant. And if you're facing cancer, if you're battling chronic illness, if you lie awake at night afraid of what tomorrow brings, I want you to hear this. Your fear is valid, but it's not the only thread in the field. You can weave new ones. Coherence, hope, love, intention. These aren't abstract ideas. They change biology. They give you back a measure of control when so much feels out of control. Healing doesn't mean ignoring fear. It means remembering that even in the darkest moments, you are not separate from the field, and the field holds you. Because healing doesn't just come from a pill bottle. It comes from remembering this. You are not separate from the field. You are the field, and the field remembers. I'm Dr. Kristen Lindgren, and thank you for tuning into another episode of the Dysfunction Files. If you found this episode useful or entertaining, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and share it with a friend. Those things really help the channel out. If you're interested in the vibrational frequency of healing, come find us at Lindgren Functional Medicine. Give our office a call or check out our website. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay skeptical, stay coherent, and remember, dysfunction doesn't stand a chance. I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now.